And then just it'll be enumerate in game.
Okay.
I would just put them
After that.
well, once you get it set up, then it should go down.
You gotta make sure it gets down. So every other.
Yeah. you've already- Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then-
I
So then now.
tried booking it up yesterday. Yeah, well, I tried to book it up probably yesterday.
Yeah.
Same.
Like the welcome email that you activate. So you have to do that. Oh, you're.
It's 10 minutes.
So. Going on the page. Well, you if you have without having to help,
Last
but
Friday.
they just won't work for you.
Same.
Write down your name and your email address and then.
Not even engaged. So I came to that.
That was the.
Any questions, you could take note card and write it down.
Cheers.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that is there, but she's gonna go, now that you guys have it activated, she's gonna talk a lot about certifying.
Excellent.
Definitely come in there. If you do have questions.
So,
Take a look at it.
So you haven't, it doesn't look like you downloaded it yet, so we'll go.
All right,
Whatever.
well,
Hour of it.
let me make sure that your account is activated and then that'll be the first step.
Understood. You know, it takes a lot of patience. I remember when my father passed away and I sat down with my mom and she looked at me.
Yes, yes.
We want, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Apple Store, not the Apple. Store. Okay. So what we're gonna do now, because you have not yet activated your Crown account, correct? So we're gonna do what's called a new user registration, and this is just gonna walk you through. We'll find the community first, to search. And it'll give you live in Hilton Head Plantation. And then you'll say, I'm an owner, and you can just skip this. And then you're gonna put in your first and last name. What's your first name?
No, see, oh, thank you, lady.
Additional, right? Okay.
know what you were
And are you
No, I'm
at 27,
Okay.
Otoville Drive, number 27, did you? Okay.
I hope so.
And then we're gonna hit accept, like I'm certified, you're gonna say you're not a robot, and you're not. And then we're gonna hit submit, and now what's happened is, let's see, it says the link will expire. Perfect, so we're gonna reset your password. What would you like your password to be?
You wanna
What is
log in, it's my and Robert.
Do the same thing password. Mine is IC1 alligator, and then my another one is IC1 fire. See where I got that? The blue little gone girl. Oh yeah, that's where I got that from. Was what do I see? Yeah. Yep. All right. So mine. No lowercase. Robert is 61. Okay, and then we're gonna log you in. What's your email?
37.
I was gonna say, I now know how old you are. At what, Gmail?
Gmail.
Hi, Jane.
You want to be in the resident directory? And what would you like to appear? You can do as much or as little as you want. Address, email, phone number. You want them all? Email, that's what I did. You want them all? Okay. Okay. Fine. And you're in. We're all set up. My pleasure. So this you're gonna learn today. Well, so what I would hear, I'm gonna show you something. So, let's see, where did it? So I'm going to move this to your home screen. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna break it. And so that's it. So now, because you're logged in. I mean, there may be maybe a software upgrade or something that you might get kicked out, but for the most part, once you're in, you'll stay in. And then this is your hand, we call this a handle, and then we'll do it for the hand page. And the rest of it is going to get explained during this course. Okay, my pleasure. All right. Check. Check, 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 check. Check. Okay.
You guys hear me all right? Yes? I saw someone point their finger in the air, so is that better? Can you hear me better now? Excellent. So for the folks who are waiting on Zoom, we are going to start at 10. For the folks that are in the room, we are going to start at 10. So we have about 4 minutes. So if you have some urgent questions that you'd like to ask me right now, we'll go ahead and I'll just walk around the room and answer those. But 10 o'clock is when we're going to start.
Hey. Oh, yeah.
Does anyone need a note card? We're going to be taking questions at the end. So the note cards are so you can write down questions as we go. So if you're like me, you won't forget. And does anyone need a pen? Some pens as well. Anyone else?
It's okay, yeah.
How are you this morning?
Good.
I think I can take my top off. Wore my Captain Marvel jacket today, but it's just, you know, for.
First ring. Nice, I like it.
I've already got good questions, so perfect. Oh, it's 10.
We are going to start right on time, and it is 10 o'clock. So for those of you who are watching on Zoom, you're mostly going to be seeing my shared computer screen and hearing my voice. We are also going to be recording this meeting, and all of these will be put together. Okay. So we'll also be recording the meeting, and these will all be put up on the YouTube channel. So later on, when y'all have friends who are saying, darn it, I missed that meeting, just tell them that it's going to be available, and it'll be on the front page in this coming month. There'll be a QR code that will take them right to that recording so they can partake in this session as well. All right. So my name is Pippi. If I haven't met any of you, I'm the communications coordinator here for our neighborhood. And we are doing a huge project right now. I'm very grateful that you all are here. Basically, the people that I see in these seats today, you are the ones that are probably going to be the most important ambassadors to our community in terms of spreading the word about this application and what it's going to mean for our community moving forward. The way we're going to break things down today is we are going to basically do an overview to give you an idea of where we're at with the application, why we chose it, things like that. Then we're going to move into the community concerns, which I think is very important for us to get all those out on the table, website overview, and then we'll be taking questions. If you came in after I mentioned this, we did hand out note cards. If you don't have one, they're up here on the table. You can grab one and a pen, or Sean has some as well. And we'll field all of your questions at the end. I think it's just going to allow us to move through the general presentation more quickly if we save those questions for the end. So to start with, what we instituted here, the fancy name for it is a community association management software. We call it CAM for short, and CAM software. And one of the primary reasons why we've moved into this is because of our size. If you're like me, when I started working for Hilton Head Plantation, I learned how large our community is. It kind of floored me. I had no idea. I mean, I live in Spring Lake Village. I know my neighbors. You know, I play tennis. I know those people. I do some other clubs and activities. I know those people. But when I learned that we basically make up just under 30% of the entire population of Hilton Head Island, that kind of blew me away. I mean, we are a massive entity in our larger entity known as Hilton Head Island. So our sheer size alone makes bringing us together as a community a bit of a challenge. We also are dealing with some outdated systems. You know, a lot of companies, they might need little bumps in improving their technology and their methods. We sort of stayed in one place for a very long time and then realized we had some catching up to do. So that's kind of why this is feeling like a big jump instead of a little jump. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to do it slowly.
We're rolling things out with a caution and keeping our ears open and making ourselves available for assistance. But we were dealing with way too much paperwork. I mean, do we have any new homeowners here today? Or recent homeowners? Y'all remember when you joined, how about someone who's lived here a really long time? Great. So do you guys remember when you, who lived here a long time, you came into the plantation and you met with whoever worked at the service center and they gave you that big homeowners packet? Well, you get the same thing right now. In this day and age, you're getting the same thing. So we're dealing with a lot of paperwork. Our email platform, one of the things I was always saying to Peter is, man, I field phone calls every day. I get stacks of in paper every week of people saying, I'm not getting emails, I'm not getting emails. Can you check my email address? The email platform was becoming very unreliable. And we also, the website, while it's a lovely website, and I know a lot of care went into it, it's a very time-consuming element to upkeep. And we were also getting a lot of feedback from the community. Why do we always have to come into the scheduling office and pay with a check or pay cash? Or why can't we expedite this process? Why don't we have calendars? Why can't we sign up for things online? So it was a lot of feedback from the community as well that really prompted us into looking into answering that question. We pretty much had no modern features, as I mentioned. We had no online payments, no urgent notifications, no dynamic forms. If you don't know what a dynamic form is, I actually got a request for one this week. It's when you can go online, fill everything in right there and click submit, and it goes to the person who's supposed to receive that. We have those everywhere now, but we don't here in Hilton Head Plantation. And then ultimately the conclusion of all of that is the administrative burden was really becoming a lot. Again, 30% of the population, almost 10,000 residents living here in Hilton Head Plantation. And you know everybody who works for you, you know our faces, you know our names. That's very unusual. We're basically a town, right? I think Telluride, Colorado is about the same size as Hilton Head Plantation. Sedona, Arizona is about the same size as Hilton Head Plantation. It's kind of crazy when you start to think about that. But you know Chrissy, you know Jen, you know Sean, you know me. We're it. You know, we're the ones that are kind of shouldering a lot of that burden in terms of keeping you guys engaged and happy. So it was time for an upgrade. Why did we choose Engage? First of all, this was not an overnight decision. If anybody in the room remembers Babes in Arms, that's one of my favorite older movies. It's where you get that famous phrase, I've got a barn, let's put on a show. Well, this was not that situation. This was almost a 3-year process of research and investigation. We needed to evaluate the different needs and solutions for the community. We had product recommendations that had to go in front that came from Peter, our general manager, from finance, which would be Todd, from communications, which at that time was Leah Davis. She did a phenomenal job researching this whole project. And then what we now call lifestyle services, which is Christy, Jen, and Sean. So a lot of us were putting time and energy into this. And those recommendations then had to be taken to the board and an ad hoc technology for approval, and then we planned how we were going to roll it out to the community. We also looked into the fact that this application has proven success, not just on the internet and not just on reviews that you might read, but right here in our area. Rose Hill had already implemented this, as well as Indigo Run. And both their administration and their residents gave us very strong feedback, very positive feedback. Enumera Engage itself, to give you a little bit of a background on the company, it's a US-based company, which is something we also really like. When we make a phone call, we're speaking to somebody in Clearwater, Florida, which I personally love. Andrew, who's my guy, he gets back to me quickly, they're very responsive. So it's a US-based company that was created by some larger community software giants. Neighbor Network, you might have heard of that, and TOPS, which is another large HOA development, software development company. And they created Enumerate for the sole purpose of developing and operating revolutionary CAM software. So they are, this company, this is what they do. They don't have their hands in a million pies. This is what they do. Both the company and the software have been award-winning. It impresses the industry and the users. G2, if you're not familiar with that, G2 is the largest software marketing company in the world. So these awards and recognition that they received came from very notable platforms. And enumerate, the other thing I like, I kind of reference this too, is anybody here familiar with a very long, a skincare line that's been around for a long time called Dermalogica? Anybody ever heard of that? It's been around for forever, and I've used it since I was 18 years old. It has changed and updated throughout the years, and all of their formulations, everything is still really amazing and current. Well, I think of Enumerate is kind of the same way. They're not resting on their laurels. They're not saying, hey guys, you got the awards, this is great. They actually, in our process of launching this, had already rolled out 2 improvements, 2 updates. So they're continually improving the product, which I really like. Our current community statistics. So the potential number of accounts is 4,298. Those are the households that could activate an Engage account. Right now, we have 1,744 accounts activated. In those anchor accounts, and I'll explain what I mean by an anchor account down the line, household accounts, in other words, second accounts, 163 of those second accounts have been created. And the accounts with no logins is 2,015. That sounds like an imbalance, and it is. We're not quite halfway there for our total number. But one thing that excites me is the bar, and we've set it really high, you all. A lot of people say, oh, its success rate could be 40%, or success rate could be 60%. We're looking to get 75% of our residents engaged, and then we're going to be feeling like we've done our job. And we're over halfway there. We're over halfway to that 75% mark. And with you guys coming in today, and then hopefully going out, you guys do this. It's really cool. It'll just help keep that ball rolling. So some reasons why you or your neighbors may not have become engaged yet. So anchor accounts with missing or invalid emails in our system, 651. It's not a lot when you're thinking of 8,000 to 10,000 people. It's 651 accounts that we can't even reach to help out. Anchor accounts that have not accepted terms and conditions. This is a really silly thing, but you know how when y'all were signing up and you had that window with a little box that you had to check that said, I accept the terms and conditions? Some people will bypass that page and it prevents their account from activating. It's a mandatory thing. Anchor accounts with no logins, we stand at 2,015. So, you know, there's people that just haven't even started the process yet. Maybe you missed the registration window. When we initially sent out that welcome email, do you guys remember back in November, December, we put out that campaign to have you update your email information. A lot of you were fantastic about it. So in January, right, that first week of January, we launched welcome emails out to all of those addresses, plus anything that we had in our central database. If you did not get to that within 48 hours, it went and you were left saying, I don't understand, why can't I log in? I want you to bear in mind that that 48-hour window, that's a security measure. So that login isn't just sitting there waiting for anybody to find it and log in. So now you were sort of stranded and maybe didn't know what to do. You also may have heard nothing about Engage, which makes me want to cry, but I definitely countered. I was just talking to someone last night, a friend of mine, where I said, oh, you've got logged on to Engage yet? And I went, what? I said, you know, the community platform. I don't know what you're talking about. I said, Bill, do you read the newsletter? And he said, well, sometimes. I'm like, it was on the front. Anyway, so some of our residents may not have even heard that we're doing this yet. And definitely, we've gotten feedback that people have concerns about Engage. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So we do have a resident demographic that is either unfamiliar with or a little resistant to technology. And I do want to be clear, this is not just people of a certain age. I have contemporaries of mine who have said, I just don't do technology. Okay, I understand. And that's your choice. However, it is going to be a little bit of a problem here. So the good news is the human helpers are not going to go away. Chrissy, Jen, and Sean, we are here. You can come in here, tell your friends, oh, you're having a problem, just pop by the plantation house. They're great. We have computer terminals now set up. We have a terminal set up here and we have a terminal set up over at the service center. So again, there's someone who can just come out and sit down. You know, our computers at the moment over at the plantation house, like behind the desk, they're a little older. So we have modern computers that you can sit down with someone and they'll walk you through everything. So the human element is not going away. We also, to me, in terms of speaking to this demographic, the residents who have come into me, and I'll cite a story. I had a woman who called, and I actually ended up going to her house. And we sat down and we got her all set up. And it's always a little bit of a tip to me when I sit down and I activate the computer screen and the type on the screen is so big that I'm like, I'm having trouble reading it because it's just so big. I'm like, wow, all right, this is not someone who spends a lot of time on a computer. We got her all set up. Well, she called me about 4 days later and she said, why did it take you guys so long to do this? It's making my life so much easier because now I can just do everything on my phone because I don't want to use my computer. But the good news is if you don't like doing it on your phone, you can use your computer. And I've actually had a lot of people come in with their tablets because the tablet seems to be a really good option as well. So we're getting great feedback from this demographic that once they commit, they're finding it to be a piece of cake and they're loving it. Another community concern is privacy and security. And that was a big part of our research going into this. First and foremost, HHP has never and will never share your information in any capacity. It enumerates security policy. It highlights encrypted data transfers for protection. What that means is every time you type something in, and I always get this, I don't know why, it's wires that I picture in my head, but I picture, little flashing lights traveling down wires, going to another destination. And every time you send something or receive something to or from Engage, it is encrypted, which means it becomes like a foreign language to anybody who's trying to look at your information. There's no selling of personal data. And this, to be completely transparent, they do communicate your information to certain vendors that are necessary for the function of the platform. So it's still encapsulated, but I don't want to say that they never share it with anyone. Their privacy policy is very clearly linked at the footer of our website. So if you want to go in and read that in full, go right ahead. They also have a very, very detailed security policy, which you can find on the Enumerate website. You just search security policy, Enumerate Engage, and it will pop right up. This is sort of an in a nutshell explanation. So common login issues. We talked a little bit about the expired activation emails. The welcome emails do expire after 48 hours. Wrong credentials. What we're finding, where a lot of the frustration is coming from, is that email has expired. So they're downloading the app to their phone. Yay, glad they're doing that. And then they're trying to input other information. They may put in their PIN number and their account number, or their account number and their last name. They're trying all these combinations, thinking that they can go ahead and access their account, but they haven't even activated it yet. So you have to go through the process of requesting another welcome email and getting your account activated before you can log in. Registration request backlog. All right, so we are thrilled that all of a sudden we're getting tons of requests for registration. People are saying, yep, forgot, I messed up, I need to register. Or, hey, my wife wants an account, she wants to create an account. So we're getting sometimes 50 of these a day. We're a little backlogged. So it may take up to or even more than a week for us to respond. We're not going anywhere. This isn't going anywhere. Be patient with us. We will get to you. If there's a pressing reason, I had some calls this week, which I appreciated. Kids camp, but I've got to get my people signed up on kids camp. I know we have to do that on Engage, and I'm not on Engage yet. If there's a reason, if there's an urgency to you getting signed up, come by, we'll get you taken care of, all right? But if you're gonna go through the channels of the registration request.
Mío.
Right.
Oh, Dios.
All right, solutions. Oh, and if you are watching this on Zoom, I just heard a voice. If you could please keep yourself muted, that would be a big help. Thank you. So the solutions that we're looking into, following the correct activation steps from the welcome email. And what that means is there's going to be a link, and yes, you do have to click that link. It's going to take you to a place where you create a password. You don't have to create your email. You wouldn't have gotten this if we didn't already have your email. You'll create a password. Remember the password, y'all. The beauty of Engage is it's pretty much a one and done login. Once you've logged in on your phone, your tablet, and your computer, you have to log in on each device. You will stay logged in unless you either log out. There might be something like a system update or software update that might kick you out once in a blue moon and cause you to have to log in, but it's pretty much a one and done. But when you create that password, file it someplace safe. And that would not be your brain, okay? Put it in a, you know, and I don't recommend storing passwords on your computer because that can be sensitive to hacking. Unless you have really good security software that is for password storage. That's what I have. But you might have a little, you know, a little sticky note here on the side of your drawer. You write that password down. Make sure you remember it. So if that email were expired, file a new, I'm sorry, let me continue walking through. So you'll create your password. Then you're going to be taken to that terms and conditions screen. Check the box. Once you check the box, it's going to take you to your choices for resident directory. I'm going to visually walk you through this in a minute. Actually, why don't we just do that now? So my Zoomers, you're going to see me switch out of the screen here for a moment as we go over to this. All right. So here we are. I am
This is
a
Howard.
resident here.
I am
and
on the Engage
want-
Zoom.
There's
and
a
the
gentleman that I
only
need
time
to.
Tiffany's voice is clear is when she stands next to her computer. Her computer is not picking up the sound system very well. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I just heard, because someone was talking on the computer, excuse me, folks, I'm just going to talk to my Zoom audience for a minute. I understand you're not picking up the sound very well, and I apologize. I will do better to speak louder. I'll stand over by my computer more. So here we are, unlogged in to our Engage site, and I'm going to click Login. And come on. There we go. For some reason it's not liking being in full screen. Can everybody, is this large enough for you that you can see it if it's not full screen? So I'll go ahead and I'll hit that login. And you see here on the right where it says need to register, that's what you're going to click. And it's going to take you to a button that says I am an owner or I'm a renter. You can click, or I'm a new owner. You could click any of these. You'll notice this is important for you all to see. Next to enter account number, it does say optional. So if I skip that, it's not a problem. So click skip. I'm going to put in my first name. Is anybody in the room not registered yet? Can you give me your first name, sir? Would you mind? James? And how about your last name? It couldn't be Smith. All right, and I'm going to hit continue. And see, it's going to pop up there because it's already identified, Mr. Terzian. Am I correct that you're at 16 Honey Locust Circle? Fantastic. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to accept that I certify that that's who I am. I'm going to tell them that I'm not a robot. And I'm going to click submit. And you'll see now it's telling you that you have been resent a welcome email and that link is going to expire after 48 hours for security reasons. So you have now successfully prompted the resending of a welcome email. So that's how you want to do it.
It's more efficient than submitting a registration request, all right? So let's go back to Canva. So that is how you're gonna walk through a registration process. And as I mentioned, the bonuses, login is one and done. If you are logging in and then you go back again and it's asking you to log in and you go back, it means you have not activated your account and you're in a loop. This has definitely caused some confusion in the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna bluntly say, I don't blame you. It's tough, but unfortunately, it's just the way it is for the moment. We'll continue to problem solve this. But your voting login is different. And it happens to be your account number for your username and your PIN for your password. That information's on your printed ballot, but if for some reason you can't find your printed ballot, that's how that is set up. Username is your account number, password is your PIN. And then we go to gate access login. Username is your PIN. We did that just to confuse you. And then the password is your last name in all caps. That has not changed. That's the default login for gate access. And gate access is requesting a gate pass. Okay. So for the moment, we're going to have 3 different logins you need to track. Once voting is done, you're going to have 2 different logins you need to track. But again, remember, once you're logged into Engage, you're done. So then you just have to remember gate pass. All right, let's talk a little bit about household equality. This has been a very interesting hot button here in the community, and I don't blame you, but I want to give you a little background on this. When we launched Engage, we had to start somewhere. And while a lot of you were terrific about sending in emails, some of you sent in 2 emails, one for husband, one for wife, which is great, but we only anchor an account through 1 email. So every property has to have what we call an anchor or a parent account. When we sent those out, they either went to one of the emails you submitted, or it went to the email that was in our database, which is your legal property email, your legal property data. So it most likely was Mr. and Mrs., or it may have been such and such trust or such and such trustee. So when you're going into Engage, it's going to have that verbiage of what was in your legal property account. Household accounts are what clear that up. And we're going to walk through creating a household account very clearly. But that anchor account can create up to 5 household accounts for members of the household who are over 18. Now, do we police that your household members are over 18? We do not. So if you want to give that to your 14-year-old, that's absolutely fine. But your 14-year-old can then call in gate passes. They can look at your financials, because the household and the anchor account, you all have the same rights and accessibility. There's no, seniority once that household account has been created. So we're recommending that household accounts are only created for accounts on that property. So let's walk through that for a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I'm going to log in as a resident, not as an administrator. I put the microphone down to put in my password. Hold on. There we go. All right. So I am now logged in as Annalisa Pippi Idkor, who lives over there in Spring Lake Village.
And when we created the Anchor account, when it actually came to me, it was under my name. And that's great, but if it had been under my husband's name or under Mr. and Mrs., you know what my husband would have said? I don't like to deal with this stuff. Can you just take care of this? So what I would do is I would go under my account and profile. And on that Anchor account, I would change all the information to my name. Or let's say my husband came home and said, you know what? For some reason, it's important for me to be on that Anchor account. And I would say, I really don't care because I'm going to have my own household account. I could change all of this information to his information and update it. So you just need to pick the one person in your household, not Mr. and Mrs., but the one person in your household who's going to be attached to that Anchor account. Doesn't matter who it is, as long as you're over 18. Then you'll go under settings to household accounts. You're going to click add a household account. And you can see here where my husband's already been activated as a household account, but I'm going to go ahead and add a mythical person. So when you go to add household account, you'll notice there's no place to fill in address because up here at the top left, they're already anchored to my address. And that's what we want. You'll put in the first name and last name of that individual. You'll put in their contact information, their email, their emergency contact, and you will click submit. You're then going to get their own welcome email.
Check it out.
Understood? Sorry, I've got to mute somebody again. Folks online, if you could please keep yourselves muted, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay. So when they get that new welcome email, they will go ahead, walk through the same process you went through. And then boom, they have their own account. Now I can show you in the resident directory, if I look for,
Okay.
which is my last name.
Sí, porque me
how we
como
pop up.
volar en
So we are both now our own individual in Hilton Head Plantation, anchored to the same address. So this has nothing to do about household equality. It just has to do with being able to attach residents to one address. Okay, perfect.
exactly.
All right, we're going to keep moving on.
That's right. ¿Cuánto es que me cobran? Y me dejas saber, okay? Okay. Okay. Okay, gracias.
Okay. So that's that's for now, until we get to questions, that's the last community concern we're gonna address. If there's any others, we'll deal with that when we get to questions. So let's go ahead and do our tour of Engage. Perfect. So I will go back to this. And we're gonna do a quick walkthrough. So when I am not a resident of Hilton Head Plantation, and for right now, I have to use a little bit of a cumbersome what's called a URL, web address, to get to the website. That URL, I'm going to put it up on the screen so you guys can copy it down. I'll put it up on the screen in just a moment. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to log out and I'm just going to be a Joe Schmo who's looking at the website. After March 21st, HiltonHeadPlantation.com.
Se va del teléfono, coño, no se oye nada. Y se le dice, la han mandado 40 veces.
Online, Carmen, can you please mute yourself?
¿No es?
Carmen, if you can hear me, I need you to mute yourself.
Está hablando contigo.
Yes.
Can you mute yourself, please? When you talk, we're hearing you.
Can I what? I don't know.
Never mind, I got you. I muted you. I hate to do that. I usually like to ask. All right, so here we go. So here I am on our lovely website with our beautiful pictures. And I'm going to look here on our home page. It gives us a lovely little welcome paragraph. This is our latest news. Now, one thing I want you to notice is latest news, it says log in to read post. Anything that is put out as news to our community, it's our private information, all right? You have to be logged in to see that. You'll notice down here, there are links. These are links that it's safe for the public to see. Things like contact information, rules and regs, Coffee with Peter PowerPoint. It's actually very important for us to be transparent to the outside community. So this is information that they'll be able to see all of our governing documents, so forth and so on. And I'm going to show you what they can't see. But even gate pass, even though this is visible to the public, you'll notice when I press it, they have to log in. So it's not like a stranger can come in and request a gate pass for us. So moving right along with the home page, now Joe Schmo can see our latest news, but again, they have to log in to read anything. But it's kind of fun. I mean, I actually sort of like this, that they can look and they can see, oh, they post their minutes. That's interesting. Oh, they have a training in their community tomorrow. Oh, look, they have they alert people if there's a transformer issue. You know, it allows them to sort of see what our general conversation is. Community pages is going to continue to grow. There are certain things, right now, the only thing the public can see is an overview, which has to do with our governance and what our different offices do and who head those offices up and how to contact them. Okay. And it also gives them access to a contact page. I have to tell you guys, I've used this contact page 6 times in the last 3 days. So I had to, I don't carry numbers well in my head, and I absolutely love it that I can just jump onto this contact page on my app, and here's all the extensions and all the numbers that I need. So that's really helpful. So the public can see that. Under resources, they can see any of our public documents, any of our public web links. They can see our community governance documents, things like rules and regs, strategic plans, guidelines, and that's going to continue to grow as we build out the site. They can see our digital plantation newsletter. So this is kind of nice. If you've never taken a look at our digital plantation newsletter, it looks just like our printed one, except it's on the computer. But I will say one thing I do like about our digital version is this is what is called a dynamic document. So for example, if I want to shoot off an email to the board because I'm suddenly inspired while I'm looking at the digital plantation living, I can click this and it's going to take me right into emailing the board, which I think is kind of cool. And also things like if I want to join a club or if I want to, but you can see this looks just like it. If I want to join a club or take a look at the farm club, we have dynamic links that will take you right to the pages. It's just kind of fun. So the public can see our newsletter. These are all of our different committees. And under here, you'll see who is currently on that or in that organization, as well as all of our board minutes. The board itself has 3 years worth on here. Every other committee will have 2 years worth available. And then as we continue to grow this, for example, under Architectural Review Board, you not only can access the minutes, but there will be important documents for homeowners. Right now, we just have the ARB guidelines under there, but there will be things like tree mitigation forms and things like that that you can access more quickly. So the public can look at that kind of thing. And then they can also look at our Coffee with Peter PowerPoints if they would like. And just so you know, as a resident, this is where you'll find those PowerPoints moving forward. Now, once we get to residents, anything under for residents, if I click this, let's say I want to look at our classifieds because I want to scam somebody by telling them I'm going to buy their item, but I'm going to write them a check and they have to ship it to Taiwan. It's going to make me log in, right? Let's say I want to look at the community feed. It's going to make me log in. If I want to look at our resident directory, it's going to make me log in. So there's a firewall that protects any information that we feel would be sensitive as a resident You have to log in to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So now, here's everything. Here's our community feed. This is all of our information, anything that we post. Someone asked me earlier how you take down a community feed. You don't, we do. So we'll go in here regularly. In fact, I went in last night and I pulled out some outdated stuff or some information that probably had been absorbed by now. So we will not let this get ridiculously long. But this is your community feed. The classifieds are starting to heat up a little bit, no pun intended, with the fireplace logs there right at the top. But so, you know, this is our new classifieds, and I love it because it's easier for you and it's easier for me. Before, the process of posting a classified was a very labor intensive thing for me. Now you all simply go to the home page, scroll down to the bottom. Refresh it. Should be showing up since I'm logged in. Oh, it's under links. I'm sorry. Here we have classified ad form, and you'll notice this says secure link because we don't want anyone filling out a classified form. And this is what I mean by a dynamic form. If you all have something to sell, you'll come in here, you'll fill out your first, last name, you do all these little drop downs I've asked you to do. There's also, if you have a lost item or a found item, you can list it in the classifieds. And once you've filled out this form, you can upload our old classifieds, 1 picture. New classifieds up to 6, which is kind of cool. You'll click submit and it goes right to my inbox, and it takes me maybe 3 minutes to generate a classified listing. So it's a really nice, new, easy way. And the only people who see this, y'all, are our residents. So you're not, if you get a response to your classified, it's from someone who lives in Hilton Head Plantation, unless you've also listed on like Nextdoor or Facebook. Calendar. So this is our community calendar, which you can see we are a busy, busy community. And because even here you can see this shows 2 items, but it says 9 more right underneath it. Well, if you're looking for something specific, we have this fabulous drop down. Let's say I just, you know, I'm a person who I take a lot of fitness classes and I just want to see what's going on at Spring Lake Pavilion because that's where all the fitness classes happen. So now this is only what is going on at Spring Lake Pavilion. Let's say I want to see what the Euchre Club is doing. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, the clubs aren't using the calendars. Let's say I want to see what the Plantation House is doing. We're on here somewhere. So yeah, there we are. There's our engaged training session. And you can click on that engaged training session, read all about it. Chrissy, Sean, and Jen do a phenomenal job writing descriptions and giving you very detailed information. And then you can RSVP. I actually have already RSVP'd for this because I planned on being here. But you can see, what I love is if I ever want to go in and say, ooh, did I RSVP? It's telling me, yep, you already said that one person from your household was going to be attending this event. So that's our calendar feature. Some of you are going to leave today and be like, wow, we did a lot, and you're right. But what I'm trying to give you permission to do is explore. Go back in here and just start clicking on things. You can't break anything. You can't wreck anything. This will give you an idea of the dynamic forms that we've created. If your classified ad item has sold, you're going to send me a remove my classified ad form, hopefully. I would really appreciate that. And we also, you know, again, this list will grow, but right now we've done your animal registration card, your change of address form, and a comment form. So those are the dynamic forms that are available at the moment. Groups. I'm not going to lie. This is one of my favorite things that we get, and because the clubs are loving it. So our clubs are now have a forum where they can reach out to the community in a way other than through our newsletter. So if you're a new resident, or maybe you're newly retired and you're thinking, I don't know, I've got some time on my hands, you can scroll through the groups now, read about the clubs. You know, for example, I'm a photographer, maybe I'll take a look at the Artists Association, and you can see what it is they do. And if it's something that intrigues you, you can go ahead and click join. And you'll get and they'll get a notification that they have a new member. I'm gonna cancel it because, not that I wouldn't join, but I just don't want to freak them out. So they would get a notification and someone will reach out to you about joining the club. So it's really, really cool. I love this new club feature. We have close to 50 clubs in Hilton Head Plantation, if you did not know that. And I kid you not, we have a club for almost everything. And the really cool thing is if we don't have a club for it, you can start one. So the way you now launch a club is actually through Engage, where you'll hit launch a group, you'll fill in the information. When you click submit, that's going to go to Chrissy and Jen and Sean. They'll review it and reach out to you and get the process started for launching a club. So it's, again, one step easier than it used to be, where you had to come in here and fill out paperwork and blah, blah, blah. So this is a really great way to get clubs off the ground. The photo galleries, I only have one up so far, but I did go ahead and post our Hilton Head Snow Day pictures. And we'll continue, whenever the Hilton Head Plantation paparazzi is out and about, this is where we'll be putting the galleries up. We're not going to get rid of Flickr. If you are familiar with our Flickr account, and the reason we're not going to get rid of that is this is not downloadable. You can't download a photo from here. You can only peruse them and enjoy them and look at them. I love that one. It just seems so funny to me, our tropical tree with icicles on it. So Flickr you can download from, and any photos that we take, we want the residents to have access to download and print and share, do whatever you want to with them. But this will be a really fun way for us to share photos amongst ourselves. And then, of course, the resident directory. And what excites me about the resident directory, y'all, is look, it's getting kind of big, which is sort of cool. And the function, but I'm going to note, you see how many Mr. and Mrs. I see in here? There's Mr. and Mrs., there's a Mr. and Mrs., Mr. and Mrs. These are people, these are residents who have not yet gone in and claimed that anchor account for one individual and then created their household account. So if you're seeing Mr. and Mrs., just flip a coin in your household, do whatever you want to, whoever wants that anchor account, put your name in there. Well, we're going to go to that next, and then create your household account. But I love to see this grow. And the reason the resident directory is fun, in my opinion, is not just searching for someone by name, but let's say you want to have a block party. You could enter in your street name. And as long as they've included their street address, I've opted out. I've only listed my email, but as long as they've included their street address, you can see who your neighbors are, which is kind of cool. I like that, and you can reach out to them and say, hey, you're my neighbor. You live 2 houses over and I've never met you before, because somehow in this day and age, we fall into that habit. So I think the resident directory is going to be really cool. Let's not forget that we can do things like put up photos and so forth. So we're going to take a quick walk through my account, because this is sort of the back end for the resident. So when you click on my account, and you'll notice there's drop downs here, these drop downs are also the drop downs underneath my name. So it's the same thing. So under profile, I can impact my contact information, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. So let's say I decided, I don't want people to know that they can call me Annalisa. I can go ahead and change it to just Pippi if I want to. Or vice versa. Maybe I got tired of people calling me Pippi and I just want to get rid of that. So you can change this whenever you want. So if status in your household changes, possibly, you might have a deceased spouse, or you might have an 18-year-old that's finally left. You can go in here and update this information of the moment. And this includes everything from your name, your phone situation, email, and your emergency contact information. Also under profile, you're gonna find your account number, but I would like you to note that under contact information, your account number is listed right here as well. And that account number is the number that you see on your ID card, your HHP ID card. So whenever someone says to you, oh, I need your account number, you don't have to dig into your wallet anymore. You can just pull out your phone and it's right there in your profile. Listed under here as well is your profile photo. It does give you guidance as to how large that photo should be, which is 225 by 225 pixels. It's a square photo. You could put a picture of your dog up. You could put a pretty flower up. I actually ended up getting a nice headshot that I liked last year, so I'm using it, but I would often just put something that reflected my personality, right? I should put a pair of Converse sneakers up there, right? So, and then the other thing that you can impact from under profile is your profile visibility. In other words, what do people see in the resident directory? You can opt out 100%. You can be completely invisible in the community. And that's one of the things that I think it's important to share with people, because people have been alarmed about being forced into visibility. And with Engage, you can completely control what people see, even within our community. So if I were to click this, you wouldn't even know I lived here. But I've opted to be in the resident directory, and I've asked them to display my name and my email address. Quite a few people are going ahead and going for the full boat. It just depends on how much information you want to have out there. I just didn't want someone knocking on my door at 11 o'clock and saying I didn't get my plantation living, so. So if you wanted to make a change, and you can change it at any time, you'll click confirm and it'll update it right away. If we move under settings, this is my favorite. I keep saying favorite a lot. Can you guys tell I like this app? I really do. So this is another feature that I really love. This has to do with your email notifications. So again, on March 21st, you know, I'm sure in Zoom land, there will be some gasps of horror. Email blasts are going away because this is now your email blast. When I post something, or Chrissy posts something, or Jen posts something to the community feed, you will get an email alert if you've asked for it. And this is how you control that. You'll notice there are several categories. Association news is important but not urgent information that we are sending out. So it's, hey, there's an Engage training, you all should really try to be there on Friday. It's the different event announcements. It's things that we believe that different, actually, I'm so sorry, it's not event, kids camp will definitely be an important announcement. So I have said it that I want to be notified about that immediately. So when something goes into the association newsfeed, I get an email right away that links me to that communication. And I go right there. Watch alerts are more urgent. Watch alerts are power's out on a street. There's a hurricane coming. There's a tsunami. You know, I mean, it's going to be urgent information. So I also have that as an immediate notification. I want to get those right away. So in my inbox, just like the old e-blasts, I'll get an email from Hilton Head Plantation that links me to that communication. Classifieds, you know, I'm fine hearing about them once a day. I don't need to know. And I apologize to y'all who had not gotten this set up yet, but I posted like 11 classifieds the other day, and your phones were probably blowing up if you had not set your preferences. So I'd say, yeah, let me know about the classifieds once a day. You can also, let's look at the choices. We've got immediately, daily, weekly, or I don't want to hear about it. So, you know, most of the people I've been signing up, quite frankly, classifieds, they're like, yeah, it's okay. You don't need to tell me about classifieds. So just hit don't notify. And then the only way you'll know about classifieds is if you go onto Engage and you look, right? General is things like there's a community recycling event going on. hey, it's the Shrimp Festival this weekend. Don't miss it. It's a little bit more island-wide. And this is also where, club events, things like, hey, there's an artist association meet and greet on Thursday. We'd love for the community to attend. Or there's a car show going down at Dolphin Head. We'd love for you to attend. There's a deep well food drive going on. So those kinds of announcements are going to live in general. So I decided to select immediately, but y'all may only want to hear about those once a week or daily. You know, it's up to you. The next three have to do with the events that are going on in those locations. So if you had this set to immediately, when Chrissy alerted everybody that this event was happening, you would get an email, right? Spring Lake, you know, again, if you take a lot of the fitness classes, it might be good to have it set to immediately because that's how we'll send out information that maybe a class has been canceled. So you can customize this to suit what you want to hear about. And then Plantation House, things that are happening here. These next three, in all honesty, don't worry about them too much. You guys are, posting is turned off in our community. Our goal here is not to be next door. Our goal here is mostly a one-way feed of information to you all. So there isn't any community commenting or posting. And so don't worry about updates to your posts because you're not going to be making them. And then updates to payments. I'll show you payments in a moment. If you want to be alerted, like if you're really anxious about that assessment check getting pushed through, go ahead and turn that on. And when a payment's posted, you'll be notified. And then notices and requests. We haven't moved into this arena yet, but we may eventually be moving something like covenants into this arena where if you've gotten a citation, this may be where it lives. So it will give you an update, but we're not there yet. So I wouldn't worry about it right now. Text messages. This is something that we never had, and I love it, which is association news. In other words, important information and watch alerts, urgent information. You can get text alerts. So whatever mobile phone you've attached to your account, if I send out something, you know, a transformer blew somewhere and the power's going to be out everywhere for 6 hours, you're going to get an immediate text message, even if you're in Florida. And you can call your neighbor and say, oh my gosh, can you please pull the food out of my freezer and put it in your icebox? You know, put it in a cooler. So the text messaging helps us take our messaging to a little bit more of an urgent alert, which is great. Mobile application, mobile app notifications. You know how when you open your phone after it's been sleeping and you see those announcements on your screen? That's what those are. So I'll leave that up to you whether you want to activate them. It's either, you only have two choices with these, which is either right away or don't. And, you know, you can see my choices there. Association news I want to know about, watch alerts, classifieds, no, general, yes. And then the events, no, because I'm getting them in my email. I don't feel like I need them on my screen. It just depends on how much clutter you want on your phone. So again, once you've created your household accounts, each person in your household can set their notifications for what they want. When you join a club, you will get what the clubs post in the newsfeed. It's not going to show here as a preference. That's going to be an automatic thing. So if I join the Bocce Club, whenever the Bocce Clubs post something, I'm going to get an alert. All right, let's move settings. Feed visibility. You're not going to worry about that. Changing your password. So if, was there a question? Okay, changing your password. You need to know your current password. So this is not an I forgot my password. If you forget your password, the best thing to do is shoot me an email because it takes me 2 seconds to send you a password reset email and it will get you right as rain. This is only if you've decided you want to, you know, and we recommend you change your password. You know, some people, if you talk about to very nervous people, they'll say, oh, you should change your emails, passwords at least twice a year. I change mine about once a year. And so this is how you would do it. You would go under change password, enter your current password, enter your new password, confirm and update. Household accounts, we've pretty much reviewed. Renters accounts. Do I have any landlords here today or any renters here today? Okay, just briefly, in case I have some that are on Zoom, this is basically making a request as a renter to be added to a property. So it's a little more complicated, but the cool things for our homeowners to know is when a renter creates a presence on Engage, it's limited to the length of their lease. So I create the renters accounts and the minute that lease expires, they're off Engage. Now, and if their lease re-ups, they call me and I extend their platform. And I just think that's nice to know also from a security standpoint that we aren't having people floating around out there who've moved away that can still access our community. Moving into my activity. We're doing great on time, y'all. I may actually get you well out of here before noon. My system notifications. This really just has to do with updates. Here's my payment updates. So if I want, this might be a shortcut for me to look at any payments that I've made. I'm going to go ahead and click on that because I don't mind you seeing that I have a zero balance, which means I paid my assessment. And payment history is also available under payments, but system notifications can also get you there. If you are a member of a committee, and we haven't started creating committee elements yet, this will be a way that you can get notifications as a shortcut. So this basically is just alerting me to things that have impacted my account. Feed, you're not going to worry about, because like I said, we're not doing posting. Forms will tell you if you've submitted any forms, what's the status of it. And documents, again, you're not necessarily going to be creating documents. Payment history, as I mentioned, and Natalie made me promise that I really knew where everybody could find this. So this is how you can go and see if your assessment payment has been applied or not. Support. So if you need help with anything, this is the one thing about Engage I don't like is I think their support page stinks. But pretty much anything you click on here, it's going to take you to the same page, which basically gives you contact information of people you could reach out to. That was sort of my way of problem solving it. As I said, hey, if you have a problem with your amenities, contact one of these people. It's kind of a clunky system. Some of these do have, for example, create a portfolio account. This is an unusual scenario, though I'm finding it to be more common than I thought. I'll get a phone call saying, I don't understand. I'm trying to log into Hilton Head Plantation, but it keeps logging me into my Greenville account. There are a lot of HOAs that use this system. It's a good system. So did we get your questions answered okay? Good, excellent. So if you are already a member of an engaged community and a second home, you have to get in touch with Engage and create what's called a portfolio account. I can give you that phone number, but you can you can find the phone number here because Engage has to set that up because I don't have access to your second Go Engage account. And that is pretty much it. This is a really good, I want to point this out under support, the website and app facts. Probably didn't even have to come today if you'd already found this. This will basically answer your questions let's look at frequently asked. So here you go, owner login experience. What if I have questions about my payments or account details? What are committee organizers' rights? What are group organizers? How do I start a group? What's the difference between groups and committees? And then here, let's look at login and password issues. Can I change my email address? You sure can. Can I close my account? You sure can. If you've moved out of the community, you can close your account. Are renters allowed to access? That's control best. So this is a wealth of information. Navigation. I mean, they've got all kinds of info. So I might recommend before calling us, but remember, you always can, but before calling us, you might look here and see if the answer to your question is right here. So that is a relatively speedy overview of what Engage offers. I'm gonna point out the logout button. There's a logout button here, and there's a logout button here. If you log out, that means you'll have to log back in. If you do not log out, I'll show you. Let me just go to a fresh page here. Oops. Fresh page, and I'm going to go ahead and go to engage. And boom, I'm in. I'm not having to log in unless I log out. So let me return to Canva. We're almost to questions. So I just want to review what's going to happen on March 21, 2025, which is going to be here soon. All HHP POA communications will be fully integrated onto Engage. E-blasts that were sent through the AWeber system will be discontinued. And the URL or web address, hiltonheadplantation.com, will now redirect to our Engage website. The old website will no longer be used. So if you have a strong attachment, take some screenshots, file it away, save it for memories, but that's what's going to happen. You may have neighbors, you know, I don't know, there may be riots and panic in the street on March 22nd. So hold your neighbor's hands, explain to them what Engage is, and help them through it. So do you have to use Engage? No, you absolutely do not. It is not a requirement. You are in the system, and that's not going to change, but you do not have to use it. Without Engage, you still will have access to the public-facing website. You'll have access to the printed and digital Plantation Living. Sorry for the misspell there. You'll have the electronic signs to alert you at the front and back gate. You will have word of mouth, and you will have the service center and the Plantation House staff, because again, the people are not going away. We will still be here. But with Engage, you get everything on the left, plus the community feed, club access, the resident directory, community calendars with the ability to RSVP for events and classes, and online payments. I saved that for last because we are slowly rolling that out. Kids Camp is our first toe dipped into that water, and it is a very complicated pool of water. We have created a form here for anyone who has questions about how to register for Kids Camp. It's going to be, we'll get it posted to the website. We'll get it posted to Engage. It's available for pickup here if you're stressing, because Kids Camp website registration starts Monday. So, and you all know how Kids Camp goes. Knew this would cause a question. The question is, will the Kids Camp forms be under online forms? And the answer is no. It's explained on that sheet, which I recommend you pick up on the way out. I am not well versed in Kids Camp, so I would recommend that that's your best bet. Jen worked really hard on this form, and I read it, and it was crystal clear to me, who was very ignorant, so I imagine it'll be crystal clear to you as well. So let's go ahead and take questions. I have some that came in early. Does anybody else have a card with questions on it?
There's a couple more.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, so for questions, how often will Engage update our personal information? Okay, so we did talk about this. So the question was, for example, removing a deceased name from the account. So you have full power under your profile to update your information as often as you like. You also can revoke and remove household accounts. And remember, you're allowed to add up to 5 household accounts. When requesting a guest pass, can you send it to the guest's phone? So that is actually ABDI, which is gate access. Let's talk about this for a minute. And I'm actually going to show you guys something that I created just for the concern over gate passes. So on the home page, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll notice this quick access section. And under links, you'll see request a gate pass, which is great. It'll take you right to the page. Well, I've had a couple phone calls, and I get it, y'all. They're like, can you put it at the top of the page? It's really small. I have trouble seeing it on my phone. And I said, I get it. I really do. So I have added it under community pages. Now, I want to point out that once I logged in, when I showed you this as a stranger, you don't see this page. You notice there's a couple new pages now that I'm logged in as a resident. So if I go to request a gate pass, I have created a page that is just like the old website. It walks you through how to do it. It gives you all the explanations, reminds you, see right here, here's your username is your 5-digit PIN, your password is your last name, all caps. Click login and walk, and then this link that says this link will take you to your gate access page. So that is now right there at the top. In terms of, can we send that to your guest's phone? Right now, the answer is no. And that is separate and apart software. ABDI is not affiliated with Engage. So it's a fantastic security network. And that's also being upgraded and being built out. So someday you might be able to, but right now, no. Let's see. Ooh, here's a long one, see over. All right, for the household, what password and email do you use? Your anchor, or do you create your own? Great. You use your email and you create your own password. So when the anchor account sends you that welcome email, you enter in your email, you create your own password. Any other questions about that? Perfect. Where do you go to sign up for kids camp? We got that. Gosh, I'm happy. I think we did well because there's not a ton of questions. Voting. Will printed forms still be in Plantation Living newsletter? They will not. They are in your annual report packet, which raise your hand if you have not received that. Yeah, I would think everyone should have received that by now. They got mailed out on the 18th. If you did not receive it for some reason, and you know what? I have like 3 sitting on my desk that were like the address got a little torqued or something. So if you did not receive it, ballots are available at the service center and the gals at the front desk can help you fill in your username and your password. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I understand your question. We are never going to be pejorative. We are never going to exclude people because they are not on Engage. We are moving very hard and working very hard to being a paperless environment, but we will always have some way for people to get the information if they are not either familiar with or connected through technology. Does that answer your question? Perfect. And then hurricane evacuation will phone number be for update, did information still be available to call? Yes, it will, absolutely. And you know, for hurricane stuff, Engage is going to be very valuable, but you know, again, we are all still people. So you'll hear from your neighbors if there's stuff going out. You can always reach out to a neighbor and say, hey, I'm not going to do this Engage thing. Can you let me know if something really urgent comes through? Talk to your people. Yes, ma'am. Yes, the last question, encrypted data transfer only necessary under, I need you to translate. That is correct. I can't answer you standing here right now, but I will get you that answer. I will get you, so see me after so I can get your email or your phone number so I can contact you, okay? And if other people are in the room are interested in that, does anyone else want that info? Okay, because so one thing I mentioned in the privacy policy, and I always recommend people read, I think privacy policies are a good thing because I have actually read privacy policies and said to myself, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. They actually do sell my information. It says it right there in the privacy policy. So it's good to look at that. One of the things that it does says is that, and I'm not going to say it exactly how it says, but it says that enumerate will share, not sell, will share information with certain vendors that are necessary for the running of the app. And that may be
top software. This is just, I'm thinking off the top of my head of an example. It could be top software. It could be neighbor network. It could be vendors that are needed for the platform to run. But I will get you as specific an answer as I can. My pleasure. All right, and last but not least, if we select daily for notification, oh, that's a really good question. I think it's at the end of the day. I think I'm seeing mine come in at the end of the day. I didn't read the full question. If we select daily for notification, what time of day will the notification be delivered? And no, you cannot control that. And if I'm remembering correctly, my dailies come in the afternoon. I haven't done it yet. That's a great question. I don't know. I may enlist you to try it on for size. Actually, you know what? I'll change one of my notifications to weekly and I'll find out. So, yes.
Activity notifications organized by building. Say for example, I want to go to cooking demonstrations at Spring Lake and know about those, but I don't want to get a whole bunch of notifications about fitness exercise classes.
That's a great question. So the question is, why are, and I'm repeating this for Zoom, the question is, why are the activities and classes, et cetera, organized by building? First of all, we needed to find a way to organize them. And second of all, because we only have limited ways to display calendars and not overwhelm people with information. And because the buildings require reservations for those events to be held. And other, so we don't have the Bridge Club walking in right now while we're doing our Enumerate Engage training. That is how they organize what's going on when in a building. So it seemed to make the most sense. Would you agree, Jen? It seemed to make the most sense to communicate what activities were happening where. I understand. I do get it. But there are certain things too that I've gone and said, oh, I wish we could do this. For example, when a club populates, they automatically now will have a calendar populate in there. We've asked the clubs to not use the calendars for anything other than off-site events because we don't want them to clutter up the calendars too much. Because they're already on there because they're listed in the buildings, right? Well, and that the reason I love these questions is we are allowed to give feedback to Enumerate and say, hey, why can't we populate this in a different way? Or why, like the one thing that I have noticed, I'm going to go ahead and go to the site and I'm going to go to the calendar. I think it would be very helpful to have a search function, So I've actually submitted that suggestion already to Engage, requesting a search function on the calendars. Yes.
Someone had asked if they left. What if they're registered under a different community association that uses the same Engage, and then they can't get onto ours without us coming to you and adding health implementation, like Indigo Run, like if they own the home and Indigo Run, here or silence their same password.
No, they have to contact Engage and create a portfolio. They have to create, if they want to be able to toggle back and forth. Now, I've had two people who lived in Indigo Run and then they moved here because we're awesome. And they could not log into our Engage because they were still in the Indigo Run system. All they had to do was call Dodie Haywood, who is their me, and say, can you please take me out of your system? And then they could log in here. But if you want to toggle back and forth between communities, that requires a portfolio account being set up. And that requires you have to contact Engage.
Well, I've got her information, so if you
Yeah. And I will say you could probably finagle around that because the key is you have to have two different addresses. Two different emails. So you could maybe have, one spouse sign up in Hilton Plantation and one, but then you both couldn't see what's going on. So if you want to be able to see both those communities, it has to be a portfolio account and we don't set those up, Engage does. Any other? Yes.
This is in a Southern County, but an individual account, one for this person, so you have three, but the main one would come to the
So the question is, could you maintain Mr. and Mrs. on your anchor account and then have household accounts for Mr. and another one for Mrs.? The only reason that won't work is I'm assuming one of those, either Mr. or Mrs., has the same email as the anchor account. So you can't have two accounts with the same email. Correct, yes. And I know some families that do that. I know some people who have like, the family so that's up to you. If it's important for you to maintain that, then absolutely, that's a way to get around that. Yes. So the best thing to do, and I hate to say the words call the front gate, but I would say if they're coming in 5 minutes, yeah, it's pretty instantaneous, I will say. I would say if you could pop it in there right away. And by the way, we are really pushing residents towards online pass requests instead of calling the front gate. It's so easy, you guys. I'm recording on my phone, but I have the app gate access on my phone. It takes me like 5 seconds to put in a pass. It's so brilliant. And we're going to run a contest very shortly to encourage people to get comfortable with putting gate passes online. A very nice prize, and that'll be in the newsletter. We'll announce all that, but we're really going to start hopefully inspiring you to use your technology a little bit more. But that's a good question. I mean, I would say if it's like they're waiting at the gate, you might want to call. Oh, Sean's got a good answer.
I mean, because it's tech-based, they just have to refresh and it's right there, where if you're calling and they're on the phone and your person is waiting in line, that's not going to go through as fast. So to me, I would do it online because all they have to do is hit the refresh and then it's gonna put that name that's in. That makes sense.
Yes, that does. So
They don't have time, they won't be able to answer by the time your person's getting through the gate or up to the. Yes.
Yeah.
So Sean, for those in Zoom land, Sean just made a very good point that if you put it in online, all the guard has to do is refresh the screen and it will be right there. Whereas if you call, your guest may be waiting for a while for the call process to get put through. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Who gets my name?
Great question. The question is, if I click on join for a club, who gets her name? When a club is formed, there are organizers. And those, or administrators, however you want to look at it. And it could be anywhere from, I mean, a club, there's no real limit to club organizers, but I'm going to say it's generally going to be 1 or 2 people who are the organizers. That's who gets your information, but you will also populate, I'll show you. If you join a group, your resident card does populate as a member. So for example, if I view the group, let's say I look at the Bocce Club and I can look at their members and I can see who's populated as a member. So while the alert will go to the organizer, you are immediately populated as a member. And then that organizer can reach out to you. And if you decide you don't want to join, you can remove yourself or they can remove you. So it just helps facilitate the process of growing a membership. Any other hands? Y'all were great. And look, it's not even 11:30. So for those of you in Zoom, thank you very much. If there were questions that you have that were not answered, you can email them to communications@hhppoa.org. And I will definitely get those questions answered. And thank you for joining us online.